I think I owe everyone an apology. If not an apology, maybe more of an explanation. And I think it'd be better for my own mental health if I sat here and kind of just explained the past 2 years and my reasoning behind things. That was one of the main reasons that when I was connecting with Sylvie, I was able to go and talk to her, was that I sat down and I really understood what she was doing. I'm going to say that these past 2 years either were a joke, didn't work, or just overall weren't appreciated. And I'm sick and tired of it. Not that I think what I did was wrong. I think that if someone is willing to change and become better, that if you have the resources, you should try to help them, and that's what I did. I honestly just think that Sylvie eventually showed after these 2 years that she never did change. If you've watched her or kept an eye on her, because I can't say I've watched her and I can't say I've even talked to her more than once, I think, in the past entire year, you'll see that she picked up Dennis Wistorm, which, to be granted, I think they got along better with each other than either of them ever did with me. I don't blame them. I'm the one that called them out. However, I do find that kind of funny that if after someone gets called out for pretty vile shit, you're going to become friends with them and then have to deal with the aftermath of them doing the same shit over again. And I think that's the biggest thing. I finally kind of accepted it to myself that I've put in all that effort and it just didn't work. I really don't care if anyone wants to come and say that they told me so or anything like that. Honestly, you're free to say it. Come into the comment sections. Tell me you told me so. Tell me this entire time you never trusted Sylvie. I really don't blame you, and I'm not saying that that's an incorrect thing to think. My whole thing was that if I had the resources, I was going to try to help her and hold her accountable. And either I failed at that or I didn't fail at that and she just didn't care. Because her behavior in Dennis's Discord server, from what I could see, because sadly, the messages that got her banned and left the server and left as a mod, I don't know if she was banned, but I know she stepped down as a mod, they're not friends anymore, and everything like that, was that she was being transphobic. And honest to God, if you're just gonna have either one of the obics or one of the isms, at that point there's just absolutely no helping you. And I really think that I've figured that out, is that she might not be as racist, honestly. I don't know, she might not say slurs anymore. I mean, that's an improvement and I'll give her that, but if you're still going to be transphobic in this community, I honestly think that it's just easier for me to come out and say hey, I'm not going to help you anymore publicly. After that event, so I'll let you in a bit of an insight. I started feeling bad about late last year because I wasn't talking to her that often, and I was not putting in as much effort to help her as I felt like I should have been, and holding myself accountable on that point. To be fair, in reality, looking back on this situation, the amount of effort I should have been putting in to most people probably would be zero. I did what I did, and I should have ended there. I was going above and beyond to most people to try to help this woman. And I started feeling bad. I would never reply to her text. She would text me and I'd always ghost her. And I do that to everybody, so I'll say that right now. The people that I am friends with know that and put up with me. They're all in one Discord server together because I'll just yell in there and they'll reply back and then I remember they exist. It's part of having autism and ADHD. I just don't remember people that aren't constantly in my life. So I either have to put in the effort to connect, or they have to put in the effort to connect. And I said, okay, well, I'm not putting in the effort. I'll let you come into my private Discord server that only has like 4 people in it. Not Frisian Fanatics, of course, but like an actual private Discord server. And she never talked in there. No one really cared that she was in there because no one really remembered she was in there at any point in time. And I started kind of seeing her behavior change in like January. And it was in January, and I was kind of sitting there, and I was at that point where I was like, I don't know, I'm not really comfortable with this anymore. And I prolonged it up until her being transphobic as a moderator and Dennis's server happened. She had that big blow up on her community page and everything. And honestly, I just kicked her out of the server. No words, nothing. I honestly just said screw it to her, to me. I just kicked her out and said, you know what? If you're gonna do that, I'm not gonna even give you the time anymore. Because to me, that event and the things that she had said just proved that she had not taken a lot of the criticism. And this explanation or apology, or really whatever you want to call it, because I don't know if I should say I'm sorry. Part of me feels like I shouldn't say I'm sorry for trying to help her, because I feel like that's just a shitty thing to say. To be like, I'm sorry for trying to help you. I do kind of want to make it a point of saying that if you were to think that I was doing this out of spite or anything, or I wasn't listening to criticism, I honestly think that's more of why I'm making this video, is that I want the people who really expected me to be better and have the better morals to have me come out and say, I did what I could and it didn't work. And I think that you should always try. That's my biggest thing, is that you should always try. I tried to help her. I tried to show her different points. Honestly, I think Dennis tried to. This video is more specifically about Sylvie, not really about him. It's just the fact that it's just a triangle of us 3 at this point. And I think that Dennis probably had some influence on trying to help her be better. I do also think that Sylvie probably influenced Dennis in more malicious ways, though. And I say that as I honestly think that Dennis did not have as much resentment or anger or a lot of more questionable takes on things until after he met Sylvie, because I honestly can't even associate with Dennis. Just neither of them have all of the morals that I want to uphold, and I don't really think there's a single stable YouTuber that I even have any form of like connection with at this point. It's really hard to have a good role model in this community. It really is, because even if you're like me and you try really hard to only cater to adults or people over the age of 18, you're ultimately going to get younger people and children just because of the nature of Star Stable in the game. And I honestly think that that's why it's more important for me to stand up and say, this is enough. We should have done that harder back in 2020. When this whole thing with Sylvie happened, we should have said this is enough then, and she should have been removed. And if I wasn't as nice as I am, I should have kept to that. I think I was being overzealous, and I think I was being optimistic that she could change, and she could change. It would be better for her, it'd be better for everybody, and eventually something good might come out of that. And that didn't happen. Whether it was my fault, whether it was never going to happen in the first place, or whether I was too optimistic, that didn't happen. And I honestly think that at this point, enough is enough. is nobody in my circle that supports Sylvie. I was pretty much entirely on my own trying to do that. All of my friends didn't blame me for it. They probably thought that that was the hardest thing that I had to do. Sorry about that. I live with my grandparents, and he had lost his blood glucose monitor, so I had to leave what I was doing to go make sure that he had it. But I really want to more or less make this to kind of make it a public announcement that I don't associate with Sylvie Misstream. I don't regret what I've done, because I think that I've tried, and I think that it's worth it to show that sometimes it is okay to put in that effort and try to help people. But I do think that I should actually come out and say, like, hey, I don't support her. I don't even think I'll be keeping my eye on her like I kind of was, because that was the best I would do, is I'd periodically look and make sure she hadn't done anything incredibly stupid. But I think honestly it's not even worth doing that. I have a lot of things that I'm happy for. I own a horse. I'm making money. I am not late on any bill payments. I have bills, by all means. Do I have loans? But I'm not late on any payments, thank God. But I really need to say that and get that off my chest, that a lot of that effort I put in was in vain, and that I don't want to apologize for putting in that effort, but I want to almost apologize for kind of making it seem like I wasn't listening, because I was. I was just honestly trying to help. And I think that my effort went in vain. And I apologize for not doing better, I guess, or not succeeding in whatever goal I had would be the best way to make an apology for that. But I do think that I would do it again. I don't think that the apology is saying that I wouldn't try to help someone like that again, but I think the apology would be that I would end it sooner. And that I probably should have ended it sooner. So, that's my biggest thing. If you're wondering about where the third point of this triangle Dennis is at, in my personal opinion, it's that I really think that he got better in some aspects, but I really don't support any of the Star Stable YouTubers that focus solely on criticizing the game. So, I understand criticism, and I understand that a lot of people are just unhappy with Star Stable, but if you're going to be unhappy about every single update, you just aren't going to be happy in general. And I honestly think that I've just accepted I've wanted to be happy more than caring about my opinions on the game or anything like that. Like the Morgans, for example. I love the new Morgans. The old Morgans are iconic, but the new Morgans, for some odd reason, are just really nice. But we're coming from a person who likes the Jorvik Frisians because they're like my own Frisian sport horse. And that's not an opinion a lot of people have. A lot of people don't have Frisian sport horses they interact with on the daily, so they sit there and think that it's not a good representation of the breed, and I go, well, I own one, and I think it's a pretty good representation of the breed because it's a Frisian sport horse, and they say that in the description, but I'm getting ahead of myself, so. I honestly think that Dennis is a fine person, probably. I do think that he just doesn't respond to some criticism well. That Reddit post that was recently made about him, I found a lot of truth in the criticism for him, and I do think that it is worth it to go and say, like, hey, these things could be problematic, and the fact that you were associating with Sylvie closer than even I was is problematic, and needing to kind of take accountability for that. And I think that's the main thing, is that I want to take accountability for those actions and the fact that I did associate with her for a bit, even if it ultimately failed and it was all in vain. Yeah. I think that that's kind of what I wanted to say, to get that off my chest. So I hope anyone who's listened this far understands, or at least kind of understands anything that I've like done, or if he had any decisions or saw decisions I made that were confused for me and stuff, that you kind of understand where I was coming from a little more. And I'm not asking you that if you thought that I was unforgivable for trying to help her, I'm not asking you to forgive me for that. I'm just more or less saying, like, that's what I chose to do, and I'm holding accountability for myself for choosing to do that, and it did not work. It didn't work. I did not make anything as better as I hoped to. And it's not something, honestly, it might even be worth kind of, if I knew how to word an apology for it, I think is the biggest thing, because it's like, I would do it again, and an apology is really worthless if you're going to apologize for something and then do it again. But I hope that if this ever did happen again, it would go better, or that I could do better. I've learned a lot from this situation, and honestly, that might be more or less what I've wanted to say, is that I've learned a lot from this situation, how to handle things, how to handle like criticism and stuff like that. I think this was more of a learning experience. That is why I would do it again, because if I think that I could help somebody, I would. And it might not have worked. I might be the person coming and sitting here and saying it didn't work, and I don't associate with Sylvie Misstream, and Sylvie Misstream is transphobic and racist and a lot of harmful things, and she shouldn't be part of this community. And I will say that louder. She should not be part of this community anymore. We've given her enough leeway. And that's, I think, today, February 11th, 2023, at the ripe age of 22, I honestly think that that's where I stand, is that leeway's over. She was given enough chances, and she's proved that she hasn't learned from her mistakes. And I think I'm more happy to get all that off my chest. So, thank you again for listening if you've gone this far. I really appreciate it. Thank you.